China has produced some of the most disturbing serial killers you've never heard of. Today, we're covering two of them. The first, a predator who walked free for over a decade while an innocent man was executed for his crimes. The second, a former convict who declared war on society with a stolen gun, killing 15 people and triggering the largest manhunt in modern Chinese history. Two killers, two shocking stories. Let's begin with the first. August 1994. A farmer walks through his cornfield between the Shijiazhuang hydraulic parts factory and Kongjai village, northern China. The stalks are tall, dense, swaying in the summer heat. He pushes through them, checking his crops. Then he stops. A body, decomposed, half hidden in the corn, a woman in her 30s, strangled, left to rot in the August sun. Near her body, a bicycle, a dress, underwear. Police arrive. They determine this was a road attack. Someone dragged her into the cornfield and left her to die. Within weeks, they arrest a suspect, a 20-year-old factory worker named Wang Shujin, one of the first cyclists to pass by the crime scene after police discovered it. Under interrogation, he confesses. He's charged, tried, convicted, and executed by firing squad, all in 7 days. His father goes to deliver daily necessities to the detention center the next morning. The staff tells him, "Don't come again. Your son was executed yesterday." Except Wang Shujin didn't commit this crime. The real predator was still out there, hunting, killing. For the next decade, while a grieving mother fought to clear her dead son's name, the actual killer walked free. His name was Wang Shujin, and by the time he was finally caught, he had destroyed far more lives than anyone realized. This is the story of China's ghost killer, a man who evaded justice for over a decade while an innocent man was executed for his crimes. A story of judicial failure, a mother's relentless fight, and a system that valued speed over truth. To understand how an innocent man was executed in 7 days, you need to understand China in the 1990s. In 1983, the Chinese government launched the Strike Hard campaign, a radical approach to fighting crime through severe and swift punishment. The policy aimed to counter a massive crime wave sweeping the country. The directive was clear: solve cases immediately, show results, maintain public order. But this urgency came at a devastating cost. The strike hard policy produced significantly more wrongful convictions than any other period in modern Chinese history. Judges faced intense pressure to convict. Police were expected to close cases within days. Confessions became the primary evidence, often the only evidence. Physical proof, secondary. Defense lawyers, given minimal access to case files. Between 1983 and 2005, thousands of people were executed under strike hard. Many were guilty, but many weren't. Wang Shujin would become one of the innocent. Wang Shujin was born on November 6, 1967, in Hebei Province, northern China. By the early 1990s, he was in his mid-20s with a criminal history. He'd been imprisoned for assault. He served his time and was released. The system believed he was reformed. But prison didn't fix Wang Shujin. It made him more calculating. In 1993, when Wang was 26 years old, he committed his first known murder. A woman was attacked and killed in Hebei Province. The crime went unsolved. Police had no leads, no suspect, no breakthrough. Wang had gotten away with it, and that emboldened him. Summer 1994. Wang Shujin was hunting again. His target was a woman in her 30s named Kang Jui. She was cycling along a road near the Shijiazhuang hydraulic parts factory. Wang attacked her, dragged her into a nearby cornfield, assaulted her, strangled her. He left her body in the corn, scattered her belongings nearby to make it look like a random roadside attack, and disappeared. August 5, 1994. A farmer discovered Kangju's decomposed corpse. Police arrived and launched their investigation. Under the strike hard policy, they were expected to solve this case immediately. The pressure was immense. The public demanded answers. Officials needed results. So police set up a checkpoint near the crime scene and began stopping cyclists. One of the first to pass by was a 20-year-old factory worker named Ni Shubin. He was arrested on the spot. Ni Shubin was born on November 6, 1974. He was 19 years old when he was arrested in September 1994. He worked at a factory near the crime scene. He was quiet, reserved, a farm boy from a peasant family in Hebei. Police interrogated him. Under the strike-hard policy, confessions were paramount, and they obtained one. Ni confessed to the crime. Years later, investigators would question how that confession was obtained. The evidence suggests coercion. But in 1994, nobody asked those questions. An official in the Hebei Procuratorate raised an objection. He believed that beyond the confession, there was no other evidence of Nie's guilt. He demanded the sentence be reconsidered, but pressure from higher authorities reportedly overruled him. The order came down, proceed with execution. The trial was swift. April 20th, 1995, Nie was charged. April 22nd, 1995, he was arraigned. April 25th, 1995, he was convicted. April 26th, 1995, he was issued a death warrant. April 27th, 1995, he was executed by firing squad, 7 days from charge to execution. Nie Shubin was 20 years old. His parents weren't told the execution would happen. On April 28th, his father, Nie Shuisheng, went to the detention center to deliver daily necessities for his son, food, clothes, basic supplies, as he had done every day since the arrest. The staff told him, "Don't come again. Your son was executed yesterday." No goodbye, no final words, no chance to see their son one last time. Nie Shubin was gone. And Wang Shujin? He was free. And he would kill again. Just months after Nie Shubin's execution, Wang Shujin struck again. Another woman, another attack, another murder. Police faced another unsolved case, but no one connected the crimes. Forensics in 1990s. China was primitive. Information sharing between provinces barely existed. DNA analysis was just beginning to be implemented. Serial offenders could operate for years, staying invisible, moving between regions, leaving no trace. Wang continued living a normal life, working, blending in, never falling under suspicion. By the end of 1995, Wang Shujin had attacked multiple women and killed at least 2 of them, and he had never been caught. Zhang Huanji's world shattered on April 28, 1995. Her only son was dead, executed, gone. But Zhang didn't believe Nie was capable of this crime. She knew her son. He was shy, quiet, gentle. He wasn't a killer. She knew he was innocent. But how do you prove the innocence of a dead man in a country where the justice system rarely admits mistakes? Zhang's husband, Nie Shuisheng, couldn't handle the trauma. He attempted to take his own life. He survived, but the attempt left him half paralyzed. Zhang now had to care for her disabled husband while grieving her executed son. For years, she worked in silence. She began collecting evidence, reviewing the case files she could access, writing letters to courts, government agencies, anyone who would listen. Most didn't respond. Doors closed. Officials told her the documents were incomplete. Courts refused to reopen the case. For nearly a decade, Zhang Huanji's voice went unheard, but she never stopped. March 2005. 10 years after Nia Shubin's execution, Wang Shujin was arrested for another crime in Hebei province. While in custody, Wang started talking. He confessed to attacking and killing women between 1993 and 1995. 3 victims total. Among them was Kang Jui, the woman from the cornfield. The woman Nia Shubin was executed for killing. Wang gave detailed descriptions of the crimes. He described the cornfield, the location of the body, details that were never made public, details he couldn't have known unless he was the killer. The confession should have been a breakthrough. Instead, it became a political problem. Admitting Nia Shubin was innocent meant admitting the Hebei Provincial Court had executed an innocent man. It meant exposing one of the most significant errors in modern Chinese legal history. The system didn't want to admit that. March 2005. Zhang Huanji heard about Wang Shujin's confession. This was it. This was the proof she needed. She hired a lawyer and began the legal process to clear her son's name. The head of the Provincial Political and Legal Affairs Committee set up a special team to reopen Nia's case. He ordered the results to be published within 1 month. For the first time in 10 years, Zhang had hope. But it vanished quickly. The official was promoted to a position in Beijing shortly afterwards. The investigation stalled, the special team disbanded, and behind the scenes, powerful officials were working to bury the case. Hebei provincial authorities allegedly pressured Wang Shujin to revise his confession. They tried to make him recant. Wang refused. December 31st, 2013, nearly 9 years after Wang Shujin's confession, the Hebei Province High People's Court issued a shocking ruling. Wang Shujin was convicted of multiple attacks from 1994 to 1995. He was sentenced to death, but the court rejected his confession to killing Kang Jui, the woman Nia Shubin was executed for. The court claimed Wang's confession was inconsistent, that it couldn't be verified, that Nia Shubin's conviction would stand. Zhang Huanji was devastated. The system was protecting itself. Admitting the error meant exposing officials, judges, prosecutors, people who were still in power. It meant opening the door to lawsuits, compensation claims, and public scrutiny. So the courts chose to protect the system instead of admitting the truth. But Zhang didn't quit. September 2011. Zhang Huanji's fight gained an unexpected ally. The People's Daily, a major state newspaper, published a critique questioning the difficulties of rectifying such a clearly wrongful case. This was significant. Major state media doesn't publish stories like this without approval from high levels. The media began covering Zhang's story. International outlets interviewed her in 2011 in her rural village in Hebei province. She was making countless trips to Shijiazhuang, the provincial capital, 200 miles away, to appeal her son's case. The pressure on the judicial system was growing. November 2014. China's Supreme People's Court announced it would review Nia Shubin's case, but the process was painfully slow. Authorities delayed, stalled. Zhang continued fighting. She told reporters, "I don't want money. I just want my son exonerated." She was in her 70s now. Her husband was still half paralyzed, but she refused to stop. December 2nd, 2016, 21 years after Nie Shubin's execution, China's Supreme People's Court issued its final ruling. Nie Shubin was innocent. The court ruled that evidence against him was insufficient. The confession was likely obtained improperly. There was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. The trial was rushed. The execution was unjust. The real killer of Kongjui was Wang Shujin. Zhang Huanji stood outside the court in Shenyang, Liaoning Province, and broke down in tears. Reporters surrounded her. Cameras flashed. Her son was exonerated, but he'd been dead for 21 years. "I just wanted to live to see this day," she said. The Chinese government awarded Zhang and her husband 2.68 million yuan, approximately $387,000 in compensation in 2017. But no amount of money could bring back her son. Nie Shubin's case became one of the most high-profile wrongful conviction cases in Chinese history. It reportedly influenced the Chinese government to introduce requirements mandating all police interrogations be video recorded. The case became a symbol of judicial reform, a reminder of what happens when speed is valued over truth. While Zhang fought for her son's name, Wang Shujin's case slowly moved through the judicial system. November 24, 2020. 15 years after his confession, the Handan Intermediate People's Court in Hebei Province issued its verdict. Wang Shujin was found guilty of multiple counts of intentional homicide from 1993 to 1995. Sentence: death. He was also sentenced to 15 years imprisonment for assault. The court combined the sentences into the death penalty. The case was sent to China's Supreme People's Court for final review, standard procedure for all death sentences in China. February 2nd, 2021. The Supreme Court upheld the verdict. That same day, Wang Shujin was executed in Hebei Province. He was 54 years old. The man who had evaded justice for nearly 3 decades was finally held accountable. Wang Shujin destroyed more lives than just his direct victims. Multiple women attacked, at least 2 murdered, an innocent 20-year-old executed for a crime he didn't commit, a father who attempted to end his life and was left half paralyzed, a mother who fought 21 years to clear her dead son's name, a justice system forced to confront one of its most significant failures. Wang Shujin's story isn't just about a serial killer. It's about the catastrophic consequences of valuing speed over truth, about a system that prioritized convictions over justice, about a policy that produced numerous wrongful convictions in the name of public safety. Nie Shubin was exonerated, but that exoneration came 21 years too late. His father never fully recovered from the trauma. His mother spent 2 decades fighting a system that refused to admit its mistake. And Wang Shujin? He lived nearly 3 decades after his crimes, decades that Nie Shubin will never get. He walked free while an innocent man was buried. He continued his life while a family was destroyed. Justice came eventually, but it came far too late. But Wang Shujin wasn't the only killer who shocked China. The second case is different. No fields, no hidden bodies, no silence. This time, the killer didn't wait for the system to make a mistake. He went after the system himself. March 1996, Beijing. A patrol officer stands his post on a quiet night. No protest, no riot, no warning. A man walks up, asks a couple of harmless questions, steps closer by just a few inches. Then comes the first shot. One bullet to the head. Follow-up shots to make sure. The attacker takes the officer's gun and disappears into the dark as if nothing happened. For the police, it's a brutal ambush on one of their own. For China, it's the opening move in one of the most ruthless armed crime sprees of the 1990s. Over the next year and a half, this same man will kill soldiers on guard duty, execute a businessman in broad daylight, gun people down in front of a hotel, and murder his own accomplice at a scenic lake. He'll move between Beijing, Hebei, and Xinjiang, leaving at least 15 people dead, about 15 more badly wounded, and more than 1 million yuan in stolen cash behind him. He isn't killing out of sudden rage. He's doing it with planning, patience, and cold intent. A former convict who walked out of prison, picked up guns, and quietly declared war on the state that locked him up. His name was Bai Baoshan. Bai Baoshan was born on November 6, 1958, in Zhushui County, Hebei Province. By his 20s, he had moved past petty crime and into violent robberies. He was already on police radar as a man who would use force to get what he wanted. In 1983, at age 26, a court finally stopped him. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison for theft and violent crime and sent far from home, spending much of his sentence in Xinjiang in China's far northwest. 13 years behind bars didn't turn him into a different person. They turned his resentment into something hard and focused. He came out of prison convinced that society had stolen his life and that he was entitled to take it back. By March 1996, his time is up. He walks out. Most ex-prisoners try to keep a low profile. Bai does the opposite. Within weeks, he starts hunting for weapons. After his release, Bai returns to Beijing. He doesn't look for work, doesn't reconnect with a normal life. He looks for guns. Not long after, he attacks a guarded facility in the capital, using a stolen firearm to open fire and test how quickly he can strike and disappear. It's less about the specific target and more about learning, how it feels to shoot, how fast the response is, how to escape under pressure. He then turns his attention to the people who stand between him and more powerful weapons, soldiers. On July 27, 1996, near an ammunition depot of a PLA unit in Zhushui, Hebei, Bai ambushes 2 soldiers on duty. He shoots them, killing one and wounding the other, and takes a Type 81 automatic rifle, standard Chinese military assault weapon. At this point, Bai has at least 1 police-type handgun, a semi-automatic firearm, and a military-issue assault rifle. He's no longer just an ex-convict with a grudge. He's an ex-convict with enough firepower to kill quickly and get away before anyone understands what's happening. December 16, 1996. Late morning. The Deshengmen cigarette wholesale market in Beijing. The market is busy. Trucks backing up, porters moving boxes, wholesalers counting thick stacks of cash. In the middle of that chaos, Bai is not shopping. He's hunting. He picks his victim, a cigarette dealer carrying a bag packed with money. He walks up, pulls his gun, and shoots him dead at close range. Then he grabs the bag, holding more than 65,000 yuan, and heads for the exit. People scream, duck, and scatter. Anyone who hesitates is in danger. As he forces his way out, Bai fires again, wounding 3 more people who happen to be in his line of fire. Then he's gone. For the police, this is a turning point. An armed killer who can strike in the middle of the day, in the capital, in front of witnesses, and still vanish. For Bai, It's confirmation that his method works, and that with the right planning, he can use his guns for money and walk away alive. By mid-1997, Bai shifts his ground. He leaves Beijing and heads west to Xinjiang, the same remote region where he once served his sentence. This time, he doesn't travel alone. He recruits an accomplice, a man named Wu Ziming. Together, they start planning bigger jobs. Xinjiang offers things Beijing doesn't: long distances, fewer eyes, and at that time weaker coordination between regions. And Bai already knows the terrain from his years behind bars. The two men test security around a unit of the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, killing guard dogs and probing for access to weapons. It's another sign of where Bai's head is. He's not afraid to brush up against military-linked targets again. He's not running from the state. He's operating inside its blind spots. August 7th, 1997. Shihazi, a key development city in Xinjiang. Bai and Wu walk toward a local police station in the Mosuowan development area. They don't charge through the front door. They slip into the duty room, where officers and guards work and rest. Once inside, they open fire. A police officer, Zhang Yubin, is shot dead. A security guard, surnamed Shu, is killed beside him. Bai and Wu seize a Type 54 pistol and flee on a stolen motorcycle. Now their arsenal includes a military assault rifle, multiple police-type pistols, and the experience of killing both soldiers and officers in direct attacks. At this point, it's obvious. They will shoot anyone, uniformed or not, if it gets them closer to weapons or money. August 18th, 1997. Urumqi, the capital of Xinjiang. Near the Urumqi border hotel, illegal money changers handle huge amounts of cash in the shadows of the city. For two armed men who don't care about bodies on the ground, it's the perfect hunting ground. Bai and Wu arrive with a Type 81 rifle and a Type 54 pistol. They walk up to two black market currency dealers at the hotel entrance and shoot them dead on the spot, taking bags filled with cash, over 1 million yuan in total. But they don't stop at two. As they try to flee, witnesses react. Some run, some stare in shock, some simply freeze. Bai and Wu raise their weapons and open fire into the crowd and security around them. By the time the gunfire stops, around 9 or 10 people are dead: money changers, security personnel, and civilians. 5 more are seriously wounded. A hotel entrance has just turned into a killing ground. For Urumqi, this is one of the worst criminal shootings of the decade. For the rest of China, it's a warning that someone is willing to use military-grade firepower against anyone, anywhere. Across his entire spree, the numbers for Bai's violence settle around the same chilling line: roughly 15 people killed, around 15 wounded, and more than 1.4 million yuan stolen. Most of that damage is done in a few concentrated, explosive acts like this one. After Urumqi, Bai and Wu have everything criminals are supposed to want: weapons, money, and a head start. But to men like them, money and fear are never enough to guarantee trust. Arguments over control and cash begin to build. Bai starts to see Wu not as a partner, but as a loose end. On August 26, 1997, he invites Wu on a trip to Tianqi, Heavenly Lake, a famous, beautiful mountain lake outside Urumqi. It's a place where families come to take photos and breathe clean air. Somewhere along that shoreline, Bai pulls his gun again. He shoots Wu and leaves his accomplice dead in a spot that tourists normally remember for postcards, not murder. In Bai's world, the man who helped him kill soldiers, policemen, and civilians is no different from any of the other bodies left behind. He is a problem to be removed, nothing more. By the end of August 1997, investigators in multiple regions have started connecting dots that all lead to one name. They have dead soldiers in Beijing and Hebei, a murdered businessman in Beijing, dead officers in Shihezi, a hotel massacre in Urumqi, and a dead accomplice at Heavenly Lake. Ballistic work links shell casings from different scenes back to the same weapons. Timelines and witness accounts line up around the same ex-convict moving between Beijing, Hebei, and Xinjiang. From March 1996 to August 1997, Bai's trail adds up to about 15 people killed and 15 wounded, with roughly 1.4 million yuan taken. Inside China, he is listed among the most violent offenders of the Reform era, a public enemy figure from the late 1990s. The manhunt goes nationwide. Checkpoints tighten. Coordination between regions ramps up. His face circulates inside the security apparatus as a priority target. Bai doesn't flee abroad or retreat into the wilderness. He does something else. He hides in the place he knows best. He goes back to Beijing. September 5th, 1997. Beijing. After months of killing from the capital to the far northwest, Bai slips back into the vast anonymity of the city where his spree began. He thinks he can vanish in the noise and size of the capital. But by now, the case file on him is thick, and the trail is clear. Investigators have matched bullets, reconstructed his movements, and followed the weapons and the money back to his doorstep. On that day, officers move in and arrest him at his home in Beijing. There is no final gun battle, no last stand with the rifle he stole from the army. The man who spent 18 months shooting his way out of trouble is taken without a shot. Given that his worst attacks were in Xinjiang, authorities sent him back there for trial. On December 3, 1997, he is formally placed under Xinjiang's jurisdiction to face a long list of charges. In Xinjiang, prosecutors lay out the full scope of what Bai has done. They charge him with multiple counts of intentional homicide, armed robbery, theft, and illegal possession of firearms, and the murder of his own accomplice. The victims on paper include soldiers, police officers, money changers, security guards, and ordinary citizens who simply stood in the wrong place at the wrong time. In court, Bai is portrayed not as a man who snapped, but as someone who walked out of prison with a plan to use guns to take money and to treat anyone, uniform or civilian, as expendable. He is convicted on the major counts and sentenced to death. In 1998, in Xinjiang, the sentence is carried out by firing squad. A man who killed 15 people with guns he took from the state dies by the guns of that same state. Officially, the story closes with a single execution in 1998. But inside China's crime history, Bai Baoshan's name doesn't disappear. He appears in lists of modern China's most violent criminals, not because he killed the most people, but because of how he chose his targets, soldiers, policemen, and civilians, and how far he carried his private war across provinces. For law enforcement and legal scholars, his case becomes a reference point in discussions about the danger posed by hardened offenders released after long sentences, the need for fast information sharing between regions, and the importance of good ballistics and case linkage when one gunman is moving across half a country. For the families he left behind, none of that language matters. They lost sons on guard duty, officers on shift, workers and traders who went to earn a living and never came home. Between 1996 and 1997, one angry, well-armed man used stolen guns to push his personal resentment onto the rest of society. 15 people were killed. 15 more were seriously injured. One man was executed in the end. The system did catch him. It did try him. It did execute him. But only after he showed again and again just how much damage a single man can do before anyone fully understands what they're dealing with.